So I grew up not knowing my biological father. And in hindsight, when I was given such news, I went, it wouldn't move or change
Where you
anything.
going? Yeah.
Where I'm going.
You were in your 30s by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That resonate with me. And I just like being out there. For me, I've said it's the only place that a man can say I'm going. Well, mostly.
Yeah.
It's the only place where men can say I'm going, and he's honestly going there. Because I like.
So when they say I'm going golfing, you are likely to find them going golfing.
Course,
King David Studio podcast.
I'm glad you came, eh? Grand.
I'm glad I came. I remember when the lady who coordinates for you, called me and I said, hey, I'm keen, just schedules are busy. And something hit me out of the blue and I gave her a call. I said, wait, man, I'll tell you, I just need to honor this invite. it's sacrilegious for me not to do such again. Thanks, Meoti.
Bahapo, I know Bahakuk Harankua.
Yeah, that's family.
Me.
So
Hem and Po.
Yes.
So that's family to me, but carry on.
Look at that.
Carry on.
This man revealing that we are related.
Yeah.
So the Orla Koko Mataripo, Zone 5.
Yes.
That's my late grandmother, mother to Ausalamina Maliburupo.
Who is
my mother?
Yes.
It's my mother.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep going. I want to see where it connects.
So then there's a Tipepo, whose brother, Tipe Josapo,
that's it,
who's brother to my mother. And so on the family structure goes. But because we didn't grow up with my grandfather's family that close, I've just grown up a Paul, and I've known her monkey Paul. So I'm of two families. I'm of the Sissoko family, which would be my grandmother's maternal side. And then, got married into the Paul family, and that way there was that integration. But because we were kids and didn't understand the dynamics of a grandfather who parted with your grandmother, it's
left the surname there.
Left the surname there, and that was never tempered with.
Yeah.
And I've always been conscious of it. I mean, high school was fun, as you can imagine, all the mispronunciations.
Of course.
And the nonsense I was.
But very big nonsense.
Oh, Lord.
It's still a struggle, I realize, when they interview you.
Oh, no. But, I grew a shark skin because of the high school teasing and all that. But I also, at the beginning of my career, I had an agent who was British.
Yeah.
But was operating in South Africa and had built quite an agency. And, her white sensibilities and English sensibilities said, oh, my darling, you might need to look at this, It would be a rather unfortunate surname if you had to go big in Hollywood.
And you'll be Pooh.
And and I took it to heart and I tried to find all sorts of creative names to work around that. And something in me said, no, but that's my legacy.
Yeah.
And I turned around and went to her and said,
nah,
whatever, they'll learn to respect. I will get to a point in my career where I can even say to the biggest name in this country, go, this is how you pronounce it, it will be.
Exactly.
Pronounced that way, and that will be the end of that.
It's an African name.
Yeah.
It's not an English name.
Not everything written is English.
That's it. Such a good point.
And that, as a culture, we need to introduce.
Exactly.
To say, I think when I receive WhatsApps, I'm sensitive to read it and go, hey, maybe Diman Kestswana mo. Yeah, all right.
But tell me about how you then connect Le Hemi, who is my cousin.
I suppose it's out of the Paul surname. Like I said, we never grew up that close
to the
Paul.
To the granddad's name.
Yeah, to the granddad's name.
Yeah.
But I've carried it and, have done my best to keep it clean in this industry of ours.
Yes, of course.
And build a legacy on it. But there are faces that I've seen around and that have come in and out, of my life as I was growing up. And I'd bump into somebody and say, hey, my brother, how are you? And I go, yes. And, I'm literally related to
you. Yeah, they would bring it up. Yeah.
They'd bring it up. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then my mother then would further explain.
Yeah.
When asked, oh yes, no, kiba mukete, kiba go zone 4, kiba go zone 6.
Hey.
You know, I
Really, my brother.
Nembla, kinsibiana.
Really.
Kinsibiana.
Hey, where did you grow up though? Where were you born actually?
Karanku.
Right there.
Karankua, zone 5.
Yeah.
Look, I was born in a hospital, Holy Cross.
Okay, boy.
By Selborne,
Yes.
on the R8, it's on the left. I don't know if it's still
I
operational.
always wonder how they managed to rush to that hospital if it was an emergency back in those days.
I suppose Medunsa was not established as yet.
That's it.
Or maybe it was expensive and that's where you could
go that side. Yeah.
But Akira Batubatsu was Selborne. So maybe that was the nearest hospital and they had a card there. And even after being moved to Karankua, Attridgeville and the likes, you went to the amenities that you had a record with.
Of course. That's an interesting...
weird I live in North Riding and my daughter was sick and I went with her to Fourways. And when they said there's no doctor available, and actually there's a proper facility 5 minutes
from your
house. Why did I come here, which took me a good 12 minutes? Because when I had COVID, I went there because I thought, hey man, I didn't think of Olivedale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you open your eyes for the first time at home,
yes,
who did you find? Who was home?
For the first 5 years of my life, I'd imagine you're talking about formative years. For the first 5 years of my life, we lived in my grandmother's house, and there was a big family. My aunt and all her kids were there. I was there. There was another aunt of mine who was in and out of that house. So I grew up in a household that had lots of people around. My uncle still lived. Yeah. Both my uncles still lived there. Yeah. So I had a big sense of family. Yeah. You know, and hence to date, even as I don't have cousins, I've got brothers and sisters.
Oh yeah, that's who they are.
Sure, internally, if we were to talk of the technicalities of how we relate, sure, Mang is first cousin, Mang is second cousin, but generally these are my people.
And they've always been around you.
Yeah, for the bulk of my life. These are the people that, in a way, have actually, you know, with makoko that can come out of our industry. These are the people that said, hey, umfana sanilata yinging, which is subtle bullying.
Yeah.
But in a way, you know, you get to not think the sun shines out of your derriere, and you normalize, and you know that sense of community is brought back to you, and onamoto lebatu abang, as opposed to assuming
your chest is bigger than everybody else. Yes.
Yeah.
So Tusa.
Umfana.
Latamedzi.
Bramama nkantlele. Brapet is still brapet, and you know,
and they probably still treat you the same way. A little bit. Yeah.
So sure at you know, in your midlife, I suppose. Yes. When, you know, you've accomplished X, Y, Z and your accomplishments have been visible to everybody. It's not like you work for a bank somewhere.
No, yeah.
And everybody just sees you with a big car. They can follow
where you've been.
Yeah. And so, you know, there is that kind of, we're proud of you, and you're grown up now. You afforded a bit more respect and acknowledgement, but still.
Interesting. We're having a debate here at the office about the phrase "grootman," and because there's apparently young people use it as a acknowledgement of someone that's achieved more than acknowledgement of someone who's older.
Senior, yeah.
Yes, and my argument to it was you have to be older to be respected, because Botaki, we see age before we see the size of your wallet, unless I'm wrong.
Those lines have been blurred. I don't know, maybe because of my weight, people, as I've put on a bit more weight, you know, than I've had in the past, let's say 4 years. I've noticed people who are my age call me Grootman, and I've gone, okay, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But let me not question, maybe you are younger, and I do my homework and it would slip. Or no, this year. And I'd go, but you've been calling me Grootman for the past 6 months. You know what I mean? And I suppose there's an assumption that, I think it people marry, couple the two. They assume that achievements are assigned to people who have lived and have walked the journey. Therefore, groot man.
Yeah.
And the age is not interrogated as such because we assume, but you can't be this smart and this accomplished. Olentwana.
Oh, no. But that's wrong, though.
Yeah, no.
You and I grew up with groot man being an older guy.
Yeah. Groot man, and he had the pressure to carry himself
Like
a
groot
particular
man.
way. And Monala we'd still the groot man.
That's exactly the phrase.
Because
actually.
step up,
the way we see you.
You step up, and the world order. You know, so.
But I like the our way of groot man. I prefer it because older comes with wisdom, even if you're not applying it well. That wisdom, but it still comes.
It's
with
life experience that would have taught you something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, that deserves the title. And for the longest time, I don't enjoy being called groot man. That's why I shave completely. I don't enjoy it. I accept it. And I always say, I wonder if it's the same for others. Do you look forward to being referred to as groot man?
I've liked groot man.
Really?
Yeah, no. I've liked.
You look like you're the type who are looking forward to.
I have been. I've never been entertained by the idea of youth, and you know what I mean. For example, there was a radio station, the youth radio station, I think YFM, if I can mention.
Yeah.
I never listened to YFM because there was a youthful energy. But and in hindsight, I realized I was talking about it funny enough last week. Would have actually liked groot man because I like the structure and order and sense of responsibility and purpose that came with seniority. Whereas, you know, your youthful years, you sort of forgiven and it's sort of understood and it's accepted that you can float and make all sorts of blunders. But I've seen people throw away their lives in those youthful years, you know, and basically set themselves back that they had to do leaps and jumps.
So you needed you using leaps and jumps as a reference. You wanted to leap and jump that stage.
Not really. I just wanted to navigate it with a goal in mind that, you know, I at the age of 17, 19, I already knew how I want to live.
Yeah.
I want to have a house. I want to have a fro. How that went, you know. But I want to have this structure, and I associated that with certain people. If a certain groot man would be in my space, I'd be fascinated by that individual. I'd be around, and I was embraced by a lot of my groot man, so to speak, at quite an early age, you know. And I warmed up to the idea of how their lives are structured. Obviously, the older you grow and the more you see, okay, it's flawed here, it's flawed there. And you take those lessons and you move on and create your own reality.
But who inspired that at home with the setup?
My uncle, Bratipe.
Yes.
Yeah, there was just never means a hippie or lehenk.
Yeah, I know those types.
Lehenk.
The pens were tight.
Not his for some odd reason. But I think he found a lovely balance between Mopantsula and hippie.
Okay. But it looks like he was a well-presented
well-groomed, well-presented.
Yeah.
And his life came together quite early. You know, I had a house and it was neat and it was put together. I had a decent, clean ride. Was dependable, was that uncle who just always showed up and gave you the odd. 2 rand went a long way as a light. And I gave you
the 2 weeks.
That's the rubbish we were buying with it. But I think him, but not only him within my family, just generally the people that, you know, I was surrounded with, whether it was relations to my mother, friends, and her friends' husbands, and so on. I looking at those characters, there was something I took away.
Yeah.
There was always, you know, people are working, so there was no mama ngoblomme. We were spanning. They gather on the weekend. It's quite structured and good music is being played. I wanted that for myself.
It's a thing.
Life is normal.
Yes.
I wanted that for myself.
Wow.
So the exuberance of youth never really caught me. I was never a rebellious spirit. I suppose I survived my 20s in the industry.
Did you survive your teens? It seems like you did. When you were guy,
I was in boarding school.
But boarding school doesn't mean survival because you learn all sorts of weird things there.
Oh no, but I was. I don't know. I suppose coming from a family where if I was to get into trouble for certain things, drinking, smoking, you know what I mean? And I went through those things as a teenager, you know. I mean, my daughter, don't take a leaf from this and think you're allowed to, as a teenager, go through these things if you are to see this.
Yes.
But coming from a family where I knew that I had a strict mother who was quick to snap at even the smallest of things, like stand up straight, kind of thing, you know.
It's your posture.
Yeah. I stayed away from a lot of things, and a discerning factor of what is wrong and right for myself as a teenager was instilled in me quite early.
And that's mommy.
Yeah, that's mom.
Yeah.
You know, I was raised in the main by a single mother.
Yes.
You know, my mother really got married late, later in my life. So yeah, I grew up with a sense of what is wrong and right quite early in my life, and I knew that I'm coming from a family that was within. They were not liberal, but you know, where they had perimeters, and they had a strong opinion on kids should not be doing X. So you grew up with a strong sense of, oh, this is wrong. Albeit I experimented, but
you knew.
It didn't become my thing.
Yeah, because you knew in the back of your mind. Or
No, he as Chand is.
Yeah, Zamare. Everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, sure. So you might experiment, but I didn't spare a lot of control.
Yeah,
because of whatever I tried, I didn't spare a lot of control. I never got into trouble because of it. So yeah, those people around me taught me a sense. There were people I was drawn to, and they became, you know, the lighthouse, and they became the light that I'm chasing, the examples of life that I'm chasing.
I like the uncle. I truly do. I like people like that because my upbringing doesn't have people like that at all. And as a result, when I hear stories like this, we had Musa here in this studio, and he spoke so
Musa Idols.
Yes, we spoke so much of his dad. It's like, man, it sounds so cool. But where was your dad? What's the story there?
So I don't know my biological dad.
Yeah.
I bumped into a girl in 2012 who said, "Can I see you?" And I thought, okay. Here we go. Maybe it's somebody wanting to have a chat about industry and you know.
Okay.
In Garankua, to be specific, and she said to me, "I'm your cousin." "You're my cousin how?" And I thought it's another poor story. "Oh, okay. You're my cousin how?" She said, "No, I'm your dad. Your biological dad is my uncle."
Okay.
And I mean, I've never discussed this with my mother, actually, because we don't come from that kind of family. But I also think, you know, it's a conversation that I left out of what it could evoke for years. But I think now, you know, the kind of relationship I have with my mother, you know, we can share a bottle of wine and laugh and chat casually. I could take out for lunch. I think it's something that I can go, so I'm bored.
You still haven't done it?
No, I still haven't done it. This is the first time, actually.
Yeah.
I grew up not knowing my biological father. And in hindsight, when I was given such news, I went, it wouldn't move or change
where you
anything.
Going. Yeah.
Where I'm going.
Because you were in your 30s by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was in my 30s by then, and early 30s to be exact. So I went, I think I've had enough father figures for me to be okay. And let me not rattle this cage that is my family as yet. Until it would bother me, maybe on a spiritual level, where I'm told, "Hey, man, you're dead. You need to go see that side of the family." Hey,
I wonder why you thought this was Spanish side. Get out, man.
So I've never had that bother me, and I think also what the girl revealed is that, look, you are where you are, and you've become this name and this brand, you know, and people who are genuine about why they want to connect with you, they would be tentative because they don't want to seem like they're coming out of the woodworks now that seemingly, who knows, I could have bothered him and said, "Hey, man, despite you seeing me on television, I'm 50,000. And
so you didn't do anything.
I think I have a name and a surname in my phone that I don't know who it belongs to.
You didn't see the need to now with this lady that comes to you and say, I'm your cousin, there was no heightened level of curiosity that said,
in the moment there was.
okay.
I took the numbers and I tried to call him. I think it was 2:30.
You wanted to do it at that time?
But you have liquid courage, as
Of course.
in your system.
Yeah.
And you want to call him now. And obviously it's 2:30. Give him to Moholo.
Didn't answer.
Didn't answer, and he was probably told, hey, that was your son trying to call you. I don't know if that was the case.
Yes.
The girl didn't take my number to follow up, and
nothing happened.
Nothing came of it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I've always had father figures, the uncle, the examples of good, solid men who turned out to be fallible.
Yeah.
Later in life. Right. Hey, Grootman. Oh, okay.
Ish.
Oh, Mang. Okay, ish. But in the main, the center held, and that's what I admired, and that's what I went for.
You know, I like how as humans, we are confronted with a scenario, we decide what we take out of it.
Yeah.
Some people take the worst version of this is the moment,
yeah.
and some will take the best version in any setup, in any relationship. And you're lucky as a boy. And I use boy because South Africa is such troubled men. You're lucky as a boy to walk away with the good.
Yeah.
From the story, you know, and because you use that good to apply so much in the life that you're going to live going forward. So it sounds like there were issues there, but you still took the good out of it.
Yeah.
For me, that's a gift.
Yeah. No. I look. In the main, I mean, it's only now where I look at, and I say the heart of life is good if you take on a positive filter. You know, it will work out. There's more gratitude. And you're not wallowing in the bad. You're always trying to find the good out of it and navigate your way out of the bad. So for me, I've had a good upbringing.
Yeah.
Generally, you know,
you didn't need. There was no. Because I know with kids, Barack Obama has an entire book on the subject where he's looking for his dad, in essence. Dreams of my father. You did not have that at all. Like, where's this guy?
I lived such a cushioned life that there were so many people around me. But also, you know, growing up mainly in the 80s, I wouldn't say really at a politically tumultuous period in my life, but I grew up in Bophuthatswana mainly, and there was stability there.
Absolutely.
You know, and
life, prosperity.
Life was what it is.
Yeah.
You know, your mother is working, especially your parents are working to go zone 8.
Ah, yes, that's privilege.
That's the aspiration.
Yes.
So I lived pretty cushioned. That the absence of a father never really dented, and I had everything. So, but also everything is relative because of the environment you're in. I went to Morekuludi, which is primary school, to Tsogo. I mean, that was...
People who call it Sentsogo, but leave that alone.
Right. So I mean, one Den Marokane went there. There's a few chaps who are very successful. Juke, I think, is a magistrate somewhere. I forgot Juke's surname. You know, there's a few chaps who went to Tsogo, right? And they've come out quite successful. So I lived in the heart of prestige then.
From your point of view.
From my point of view.
Yes.
You know,
this is good.
This is good. And all of this by a single mother who worked her fingers to the bone. I don't have a rags to riches story. Most of my life was middle class in
that context.
Yeah, in that context.
Let me give you the elements of that context of middle class. Did you have a BMX?
Yeah.
You see, that's middle class. Like you live
not necessarily a BMX. I got a BMX was the brand, but you did.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's the Colgate thing.
Nonal bicycle. That's why you use a BMX. Yeah. So it has the color.
Yeah.
Nonal BMX.
Sure.
What else did you have? Rollerblades? Was there?
No.
Or anything similar?
But we had Mnet quite early.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I didn't have open time.
No, I didn't deal with open time. I had full on, I had full bouquet then.
Dude, I was privileged. Seeing a decoder in someone's house.
It's like there were 4 houses that had decoders in our street. Yeah.
Hey, no, you were no listen.
No, sorted, had snacks for days. But you must also remember this. I think I was afforded these comforts because I was an only child. Albeit I wasn't raised as
an only child. There were other kids there.
There were other kids coming in out of our house ever so regularly. So, and even the ability to afford me the high school, the senior education I got to take me to an art school, which is where it all began.
Of course,
with me. That 1993 phase where it's like, okay,
things are about to change.
Things are about to change. We need to take our kids. Multiracial schools are open, but also it was a trend. I've arrived in life. Let ngwana achieve.
Blazer.
Blazer. Yeah. So but I think also the foresight of my mother was to have the freedom to go back to school herself. So, but generally I had, and not only the men around me, I think even the woman who was front and center of my life had a strong work ethic. And, and academic aspirations. So seeing all of that meant, this is the course of life. You don't try to get away.
No. What happens to a brain of a boy that's raised by a single mother as a man? What is your perspective of women in general if you're raised by a single mother?
It depends on the milieu in which you grow up. I'm of the opinion that we had troubled men around us, and we equally had strong women around us who had to counter the trouble of the men around, of the men in their lives, or the men around.
Or cushion it.
Oh, yeah.
Again? Like Harry.
Yeah, Ari.
But it's a low class.
As a belief.
Yeah.
But in suppressing things could have gone haywire with you. But I think being raised by a single woman, there's just a perspective which has held me in good stead in how I relate to women. Look, I'm a guy through and through. Yeah. But there's a sensitivity and an understanding and an empathy towards what my female counterparts, whether it be a colleague, whether it be a friend, whether it be a sister cousin, whether it be a female in my life. There's a way in which you approach it. I because there was no male figure to assert a man must be this and this is his position. I had a lucid sense of umutu in the equation.
That's it, yeah.
And also I think my perspective on the heightened, sure, I believe a man must provide, but there's a heightened sense amongst other people which it's borrowed. It's a borrowed perspective. As a man, you must do everything. I was like, I don't know about that. I've seen how much agency a woman who was involved in a dual income household and was making decisions and contributing financially and on decisions being made. The house which was being bought, advising on this and that. When that person has agency, you go, that's what I want in a partner. I want somebody who's got agency. Sure.
Move.
If I'm making enough money to cover our lives both, chill. You hate your job anyway, so get out of there.
Yeah,
but let's find you something because idle hands.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, you gain a perspective that lets you understand the other without being imposed on you that a man must. Because she was also strong-willed as a woman and never gave in to the fact that, as mosadi tshwanetse ke ikgogele morao and all of that stuff.
And that's why I like your perspective was that of a woman doing things.
Yeah.
And alone, in essence, so and pulling it off. So that's why I guess the question has a lot to do with, does it make you think that, man, women can do this so well? Because that's been my experience as well. I was raised by a single mother. And I noticed increase the size of the house. Increase the size of the windows. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Hey, that's just that. What's the big window?
Exactly. Yeah. A building, the bedroom, the garage, double garage. I saw that, and as a result, there's no part of me that would think that women can't. Like none. It doesn't exist in my DNA. If anything, I sometimes think they do better work than men, and that's my perspective. What do you say to that in terms of? I think sometimes the banalo zama.
No.
Useless.
Look, I agree with you. The women in this country, and I think I saw a post, Azania Musaka, saying the boy child is at risk of failing and falling behind the girl child because there's been an emphasis on rebuilding. There's been an emphasis on rebuilding themselves, rebranding and repositioning and repurposing themselves in our country. Then we've stayed. I mean, habitually, some of us are doing what our fathers did.
Yeah,
Playing golf every weekend.
His golf then was different, but it's still golf. It's still hang out with the boys.
Yeah, it's hang out with the boys, and we habitually getting into the same things but women have had a steady concentration on improving themselves, educating themselves, to literally not financially need us.
Yeah.
Because after you've gone through that cycle of going, okay, I've built my house, I have the cars, the kids are off to good schools. If as a single mother, then you still need that companionship. And, it's coming to the table and hopefully finding somebody who's okay with himself for you to have all these things and accomplish all of that. So for me, women do well because of the adversities they've faced and how they've beautifully risen above them. Yeah. And how that has built character. So in some cases you find that there's more attention to detail. There's a sensitivity that we don't apply, and we need to learn and take a leaf from their book in that regard. So and hence I say having had a woman be front and center of my mother she traveled with her friends abroad, for a quick holiday. And I had been butting heads with a child who I hadn't seen for 3 weeks because she was on school holiday and she had gotten into trouble during the holiday. So she was coming back and I was still on reprimand mode.
Yes.
And after the child went to sleep, she said, "Omanya tata."
Wow.
Just drive the point home as to what is wrong, what is right, without the being hard. But that's what I know from her.
Listen to how she's able to part wisdom now.
Nah.
And also, even her, she's able to do it in hindsight.
Yeah.
Chief. If she did it, she probably realized she was also wrong.
No, but for the better part of my 20s, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother.
Why?
Because of that. You were so hard on me that being close to you is not worth it. I don't see the value in it because you're not even encouraging it. And Shem, in hindsight, I can see that Shem, you were on a path to just get this boy right. And because I'm a single mother, I'm not going to some shimano. So yeah, I think all in all, we need each other. There's something that both genders can learn from each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even if you're to go into the LGBTIQ community, there's something to observe there, how that community has
navigates through life.
And all of that. But just as I think there's also been an emphasis, and there's been campaigns, and I get where they come from. Men are trash, and there's this, there's that, where we go, oh well, it's not worth it to come into the fray because anyway. But we all need each other, and there needs to be a lot of dialogue to sort out
our differences.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of, and the dialogue doesn't necessarily always have to be in English.
That's so important. You'll find a lot of wisdom if it wasn't in English. A lot more solutions as well.
Because we cut through the niceties as core and we get to the issue to say, bro, man, is simple. End of story.
Something you raised earlier, Azania's text, or rather tweet, a social media post. I identify with that logic for the longest time. Every time we have Women's Day and Women's Month, I always say, all good and well. Who is likely to hijack you, the woman who's driving a fancy car. Right now, we walk past him. We don't see him at all, and we're thinking, oh, sharp. I don't know how we get to that. but nobody's paying attention to him at all. And that has always been my biggest worry about boy kids, because they're stronger physically.
yeah.
Yes. I saw with my nephews, there were kids I would push in a trolley at a shop. And now they're taller than me and bigger than me. It's like, what the hell? When did this happen? So they're going to grow from a cub to a giant lion. And if they're not managed properly, we are in trouble. And I think Azania's post is so right that the trouble is still in our future, because this is when we are giving attention to women, correctly so, because we are fixing things of the past. But what are we doing about this boy kid that is ignored?
Well, then it partly falls on our lap as men. I've only got my common joke. My common joke is always, I only have one child that I know of.
Yeah, well, unless they haven't called you.
Hey,
How about some lad?
but by now, I think people would have come out of the woodworks. But I'm raising a daughter. So the emphasis is on the balance. You've got the soft side of you are being nurtured, however you've been nurtured. I'm a bit of the Hitler here and there, but I've also got to bring a gentle son. I'm learning that to talk more.
Yeah.
So I can be firm and say, hey, listen here.
How old is she now?
She's 14.
Oh.
So she's she's right in her teens. And
You know nothing.
Yeah,
Who is Nix? She knows everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying I see in that
where it's going.
Where it's going. But if she's staying with you, it's like a 3-4 years of this. And then if you've been good and if you've managed the process well, you'll see the turnaround. When she turns out a bit more responsible and she, is open to talk about a guy with you.
You get along though.
In the main, yeah.
Yeah.
There are times when we butt heads, but I think we're finding our rhythm.
Okay.
Because I'm dealing with her every day. It's the Swana Kwayang and Lina Kwayang. So it's like, dude, we stuck together. So let's try and find harmony and let's try and find each other.
Yeah.
And it's a fun exercise and a beautiful one. But just back to the thing, the other boy child.
Yeah.
If you were to throw this question out, the general response that you'd get from a lot of our female counterparts would be, and ours, we're not socialized to nurture that way. Banagaba my man mainers to Mark Child. It's a sharp gadgets.
That's it.
And now and then let's do that trip to the coast. If there's enough
funds
on the
for
door,
that.
let's go abroad even. You know what I mean? And we neglect our role to nurture, because later now we run away from our own demons. And if you have to sit down and calm down your own things, you'd realize that actually no, man, there's a better way to navigate life than just
What the?
you know what I mean? So it would be it would fall square on our lap. But also I've come across single females that are raising boy children. And it's in trying to build a more rounded human being who has a sensitivity towards the female, and also can understand that masculinity doesn't mean getao. You know what I mean?
You can be a gentle giant.
You can be a gentle giant and be that, and it's embracing that. So I think we both equally as men and women have a role to play in reining in the boy child, so that we have a more rounded human being who then doesn't use brawn as a way to navigate the world.
Yeah.
Because mo palango bolela byanong o itlhalosa and
ba sa utlwi.
ba sa utlwi jevel men sa no trap.
I spun it.
And it's, you know what I mean? And the world is progressively moving away from that. So ikra byanong o le Neanderthal.
Elo ena fela da.
Hey, diman, walwa. Kacheno.
Are ha ona pati ya sa eng a sa betha mo.
Yeah,
those
sa mo mema.
Your mom goes for some education. What inspires that for her, and what did she study?
BCom. And she specialized in human resource, I think. She's about to retire next year.
Amazing.
She had a beautiful run of a career. You wouldn't tell that she's in her 60s. She's now in Mauritius, with
Now,
her
as we
girls
speak.
as we speak, coming back tomorrow. And when she sends me pictures and videos taken of her, it's like Lichichi leke mama.
They're having a good time.
His sister is having a blast.
Wow.
She works for education, for the education department, Tshwane North to be specific, and she's deputy director of human resource.
Wow, listen
So
to that.
she went for that, and her years of service
I've been
have been fruitful and have rewarded her repeatedly, and she is where she is now, and that has always been beautiful to observe.
because I'm thinking, as you say, because you made it a point that stood out. But it must have been relatively late in her life for her to decide, ke a skela.
Yeah, ke buela's
Ke
girl.
buela's girl, yeah.
I think she got me while she was in tertiary and had to work.
So she had to stop.
She had to stop and say, hey, Ereke Spane. And, then they were looking for people, which you hardly hear these days. Then they were
Different time. Different time altogether.
They were looking for people who second office.
Ukafel.
And she started there and has stuck it out with, I remember her relating a story, how Popo Molefe, when he started the Northwest government as premier, basically had to go around in mobilizing the workforce and say, we are the government of the day, but we need continuity because inheriting a system, please,
and they
don't go to private sector. And they stuck it out. She repeatedly says, I work for the government of the day. I've got my politics. Trust you me.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 80s, in the late 80s, I had made political material in the house. Asina Mali on
was
VHS.
there. Wow.
Bopa was there.
Jeez.
I had all sorts. I saw, what's his name? I forget his name. Play Mandela. And so I had a political awareness.
Even in an independent state that you lived in.
Yeah, I had political awareness of what was happening in the beginning. And so when not riots as such, but when the revolution was picking up, I was aware of the temperature of the time, and I was aware of the attempted suppression. But yeah, she went on to do BCom, I think with an emphasis on HR, because she was already in it, or maybe she was gunning for that, and
it's worked. It worked quite well.
It worked. She managed to take herself on holiday to Mauritius with brass.
Imagine that. Immediately after my mom retired, all she did was go away to places like Khobanat. Like they make you feel like retirement is not such a bad thing.
Oh, and look, I mean, what would be my thing is I'd want to travel, I'd want to play golf.
Oh, let's see. I know you're an avid golfer.
No.
Are you a good golfer?
No.
There's a difference.
No.
Yeah.
So I I started just over a year ago. I restarted. So I bought myself for my 27th birthday. I bought myself a set of clubs.
Okay, that's a while ago.
And I fooled around quite a bit with them, trying to figure out what's happening here. And I didn't get far. I thought the coach was too expensive to be seen for 30 minutes to just tell me hit the ball this way, hit the ball, and I wasn't seeing results. So I sort of quit it and parked it. And COVID hit. And I thought to myself, you know what? I really like the idea. I mean, there's been the odd invite to golf day here, there, and fushula more. But when I really got it back into it was sometime last year. I thought to myself, no, man, you gotta pick up an omuhulu, man.
Yeah.
If you don't pick up a hobby, hobby how drink the
useless. Yeah, no.
So I picked it up. I'm steadily improving. I've invested time in a coach. I've invested.
Now you get why maybe you should pay a coach.
No. I already early days. I had a coach. I have a coach. I have a good coach.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. But it's in coming up with a strategy and realizing, damn, if I want to play for the Mom's Peli.
Mom's Peli tournament.
Yeah, tournament which comes up every end of the year. Yeah.
You must bring something to the table.
I must bring something to the table, and there are decent golfers there. I play with Brasem, Mshamnyan.
And he's not bad.
And no, Brasem actually has made himself like a quasi-coach of mine.
Yes.
Every time he's around, he says, Obs, you're facing wrong. Now, Obs, do this, do that. So, it's a game of mine. It's a passion of mine. So that's what I'd be doing if I was to retire. But I've seen just her approach to life has worked out. Sure, she's fallible here and there, but in the main, she's run a good course.
Talking about golf, I observe it. I observe people who don't do it and then take it up, and they become addicted. What is it about it? Because I had a set of golf clubs, and I put them in the garage where I could see them all the time. So they will remind me that I must go do this.
Like this, yeah.
I gave them away 2 years later. I never even held one club.
Whoever you gave them to, were they expensive? Were they?
No, I had to start with relatively beginner set.
Yeah.
To test my interest.
Your appetite. That's what
So you don't waste money on
buying a 25,000 rand set of colorways and
there
realizing this is not my game.
Exactly. So what is it about it that gets people so addicted? I know a few and friends that we talk about.
Yeah.
There are many of them.
Teaspoon. He's known that I've been an avid. I'm keen on the game,
yes.
and Lena is one of those that would encourage and say, no, Obs, you're doing this wrong. But yeah, it's. I'll tell you what for me, addicted me to the game. It's a Grootman sport. Let's start there.
We go back to Grootman.
We go back to Grootman. It's a Grootman sport, but just it challenges you. Nobody tackles you in golf.
Yes. Nobody.
Nobody good. And it's
You're all alone.
You're all alone.
Yeah, pretty much. Every moment you're alone.
When?
I'll pass a moto. I'll
dribble and technique. And for you to get to technique. And I use the example of my craft. I've been in this industry for 22 years and counting. If an actor who's just come in for you, and you could be brilliant, you could be talented, and you meet a lot of those who are young and you say, oh, you give me something. But there's something in my preparation because I've been at this
for a while.
For a while, I know which choices to make. My arsenal of tools, is so wide because of the years spent at this. So I need to put in the time. So it's, for me, it's that. It's realizing that, hey, man, I have to invest my time in this thing. I have to be consistent. But so do I have to be in so many areas of my life.
Yes.
So it walks parallel. What it demands of me walks parallel with a lot of things.
So there's a lot of lessons.
There's a lot from it that resonate with me. And I just like being out there. For me, I've said it's the only place that a man can say I'm going, well, mostly. Yeah. It's the only place where a man can say I'm going, and he's honestly going there. Because I like.
So when they say I'm going golfing, you are likely to find them going
golfing. Course, I just like it how golf courses are laid out. Being out in nature, just the more undulating, the better for me.
Yeah.
The more scenic, the better, which means the more challenges for you. Because you must hit it straight. There's a tree there, there's a lake there. So
what is it? Is it
bunker.
A bunker there?
There's a bunker. So you must know your story.
I know how to score golf. I just don't. I watch it as a spectator.
You do better than most people who play it.
Really?
Well, me for one.
You don't know how to score it properly.
Properly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people say, yeah, it's a stroke one. No, it's a stroke this.
But it's overcomplicated.
But I think with time, obviously.
You get used to it.
I think the more hands-on you are with the game, and it's easy to tell somebody who said, this hole is a stroke, man. It's the level of difficulty.
Yes.
And the higher your handicap, obviously.
Of course, the better you are at
the better. No, the higher is in the higher.
The higher you're allowed.
The more you are forgiven
for
this because it's a difficult hole, and that's how the stroke thing works. But I'm still learning that. So for me, it's getting the ABCs of my game. Hit it, get off the tee box well, the fairway well, land on the green putt well.
That's it. You're still getting there.
Start being counted in that regard.
Are we to do drill?
No.
Still wanna. There's
that. You want to manage how you... and that takes time. So for me, the addiction of it is in challenging yourself. Today was better than Mabani. and then you come with the arrogance of having had a good day, Mawani, today. Therefore, you fumble Gachen, it
You're
humbles
worse
you.
than even 2 days ago.
You're fumbling, then it humbles you, and because of the frequency of play, you're invited on it. I wonder how when some of these people work.
Do you know, interesting, I drive past there. There's a golf course very close to where I live, literally a minute away. And, you know, I take walks around it. I don't walk in it. I walk around it. And it's amazing. It's like, it's a bloody Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
What the hell are these people doing here?
7:30.
Yes, tee off.
So now I can understand why I'd be looking for somebody who's in the MD of a certain thing, and I need answers from him.
Yeah.
In my consultancy work, I need answers from him, but he's not in, he'll be in Katu. And the Dibla teed off at 6 or 7:30, and also at half 12 at Kape. Officing attended to Lina from 2 o'clock.
Let me say this, and this will be a surprise for a lot of people. Never been on a golf course. I've never been on a golf course.
You don't strike me as someone who would have. I thought you'd be an avid golfer.
I'm an avid in other things, not golf at all. I judge it. I judge it so harshly. What a name, man! The whole day.
Just been there.
And then you follow this thing and go and do it again. And you follow this thing. Next.
It's in the tar that the tar doesn't result in what you tried to do.
And you want to do it again and again and again.
Get a Pac-Man machine there. I want the ball to go straight there.
That machine.
And from here to there, it's about 60 meters.
Yeah.
But now I club wrong or I over and it goes over or it's short of where I want it to go. Oh, damn. I have 2 more shots before I can get it into the hole. Therefore, it's a bogey.
Yes,
no longer a par. You know, so it's all of that, and it's the challenges of that. And
does it resemble life? When you
in areas,
yeah.
For me, in areas, I suppose I haven't gotten to a point where I'm so great that I'm showing off to go, all right, I want a fade. And I've seen.
Yeah, people do that.
I was playing with a boy this weekend who does that kind of thing to go, what shot, how far do you want me to drive?
Whoa.
Do you want me to fade it for you? And I'm like, and it's that concept that if you are the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. Because and if you're the richest guy amongst your peers, you're in the wrong circle, or you're not using what you have to empower the rest of the guys.
That's probably where I'm getting. I've never been on a golf course. I don't intend to. It doesn't matter. I've been to, I guess the only time I've been to a golf course was the Nedbank Challenge at Sun City.
Yes.
And I was there as a
guest. You're invited. And
exactly.
It's in the fanfare of it. There's a drinks.
There's a lot of
later. There's activities. But generally,
it's a nice place.
Yeah.
And that's it. I've held a golf club once in a while. I'm a fan of other things, cars and gadgets. You'll always find cars and gadgets and learning new software. That's always my addiction.
Wow.
I tinker with new software literally all the time.
Well, my knowledge of technology is all self-taught. So there was never really.
Yeah.
I mean, they attempted in drama school to go, okay, computer science. Yeah, I learned how to switch on a computer. I learned how to type. I learned what backspace is, enter space.
How to email.
How to send an email.
Yeah.
But a lot of all these things are self-taught. Because of my keenness on technology and accessing content.
Yeah.
When I went to the States and discovered Hulu and Netflix and Spotify.
Yes.
And I came back and I couldn't access these things. And I had to now learn and go, hey man, how do I do this? And then, there's a way, DNS servers and all of that. And
these
I
things.
started getting into that to a point where if I'd go to the iStore with a problem, I'd go, let me explain to you where I am so that you're not answering me at hello.
I'm a little
advanced.
Yeah,
I'm proud of myself. So explain to me how we fix this. Where the guys would actually keenly help me with a smile to say, so okay, then the conversation is more interesting.
There you go. That's my life on a day. I surround myself with relatively young people. That's probably why a keenness for tech. And it's an obsession. It's such a bad obsession. I spend so much money on it. What encouraged you and parents to art school before varsity?
So art school, I went to Prior Elfin Park.
Yeah.
in Pitori. And it was as a result. Look, I applied for 2 schools literally and got into the one.
Okay.
I applied for Boys High, didn't get in.
Yeah.
And there was an art school at the foot of Pretoria Boys High called Pro Arte. And they had 4 artistic disciplines. For dance, which was ballet, you had to have a UNISA grade 5 in dance. Music, you had to have a UNISA grade 5 at the very least to get in. You had to play an instrument and be able to read music. Now, I didn't possess any of those 2. So the one you could chance in as a black kid coming from a township school was art. Can you draw?
Oh.
Can you bring a portrait?
Jeez.
Submit that as your work, and then we're going to give you an object and then draw that for your exam, for entry.
Yes.
You know, I couldn't draw to save my life.
Sure.
But for drama, you just had to memorize, can I compare these to A Summer's Day?
Yes.
And then Macbeth, is this a dagger I see before me? And, a little praise.
Yes.
Demo le.
Yes.
It's Elani
Dimo.
Demo.
Yes.
And you found an English translation of that. You crammed these 3 because you knew you were going to those auditions. So for 3 months, you were humdrum with that's what you're rehearsing every weekend. Yeah. And you did it well. They had a certain quota to fulfill in that school to get us in. But little did everybody know, even myself, that it's all serendipity. I didn't get into Boys High for a reason. Got into this for a reason.
You'd be a very different person.
Oh, completely.
If you had gone to Boys High.
Completely.
Yeah.
I don't know what sports I would have gone into. If I've got friends that went to Boys High. There's a neighbor of mine who went to Boys High. A very good friend of mine who's based in Cape Town went to Pretoria Boys High. A whole litany of friends went to Pretoria Boys High. One Tsepo Chilwani went to Pretoria Boys High, and there's a bra.
Yes, yeah.
You know? So there's a lot of people, but you're right, I would have turned out a different person. But I came here, did drama for 1 term, and got fascinated by ballet.
What?
Yeah. Because
I noticed when people write about you, they say dancer. I get a hey man. Is there still a dancer in you?
You know, there's a funny story that I need to tell you. I was told from a group to say, tell him, Nele jaiva ko kai kai.
Yeah.
So referring to you.
Oh.
Yeah. But we will not reveal you. I'm the subject matter here. We'll leave it at
I
that.
wonder what is that? Come on.
There's shame. There's a litany of Owens who know you. And I just said, hey man, if you point us over the outie, it would help to go into a conversation with a man knowing a bit about him.
Absolutely, yes.
But so I did ballet for a year. And that for me just taught me discipline because I came from 0 dance background.
Jeez.
And I was allowed in because I was in the school. And obviously, there was a skills development thing. When they said, no, we'll take him on and we'll teach him. But how they pushed me is that I danced for 6 hours a day. Maybe I'm exaggerating. It lasted 6 hours after school, and it would end
you do
quite
that.
late.
Yeah.
But I'd be dancing for 3 hours. I did 3 classes a day to catch up
with other kids who've been doing it for years.
I did a class with kiddies. I did the class with people my age, and I did the advanced class just to strengthen me. And I said, dance throughout.
Jesus.
And, this was 93. Come 94, there was an amalgamation of 2 schools and more black people came into the school. I'm in the throes of my teens, and which also means more black girls come into the school.
It changes the dynamic.
It changes the dynamic, and I'm stuck doing ballet all the time. and I want to come back to my drama, so I've got more free time on my hands. But all of these distractions were, serendipitous in that it brought me back to a strength and a passion. And I realized that the discipline in having to work those long hours without a goal in sight, the goal was to strengthen you in the art form, in the craft. I took that back to drama, and I never minded rehearsal. I never minded slogging. I could work into the night. I would ask for the keys to the drama room and just go over monologues and light up myself and beyond. And people don't know this.
Wow.
Over weekends, board in school, I'd ask for the keys for the drama hall, and I'd open up and go to the technical desk and light up.
Now you can see how it works. Yes.
See how it works and actually just go over stuff and go over a monologue and do my own thing and switch off and lock up.
Those are the 10,000 hours that we
Yeah.
speak of.
Yeah.
And that for me takes a certain level of discipline. I remember Pizo Mtau talking about Tau and saying that Ntwane, you don't need to coach him. He's disciplined.
Yeah, yeah.
When we were flying to a game, he would be studying for an exam in the plane. Where else others are sleeping because he's that or talking or because it requires that type of self-discipline. But you get that self-discipline if you're passionate about something. So what got you to be passionate about drama and performance? Because you don't say much about it before that moment.
Realizing I'm good at it.
When did that happen?
When I went back. So I could have probably flunked that grade if I hadn't done ballet. Ballet as a subject had so much emphasis on the practical and little on theory, whereas drama had a strong theory base. You know, the history of it, speech and drama had its own voice work and all of that. People think you just get up and I have to warm up before I get on stage.
You can project it.
And I can enunciate and all of that, but also just a lot of history, which then informs technique and. So hadn't I done my year in ballet, I would have probably flunked and been thrown out of that school.
Yeah.
But doing that taught me discipline, and then that discipline, when applied, gave me results, which then made me realize that, oh my goodness, I'm actually good at this, and there's something here. You know, and I went on to go to grade 10, and it intensified, and it got more interesting, and started being entered into national acting competitions at an early age. That's where I met one Clint Brink.
Okay.
And we've been friends, you know, since we were 14, 15. So, and a keen interest on how far I can go just developed. And the next step out of that was to go to tertiary because I'd worked with one Tony Koroche when I was 15.
Jeez.
Shane Maja when I was 15. I've known some
Were they
of these.
already on TV at the time? Shane was
in
on
second,
TV at the time.
Shane was in first, second year tertiary.
Yes.
So was Tony. First, second year tertiary drama school.
Yeah.
I met all these people and grew an affinity to them and grew, looked at them as my older brothers over the years. That I was still in high school. That by the time that I had to leave high school, I knew that there was a Tony Koroche, who was not even a name in the industry yet.
No.
I went, that's the light I'm following.
Yeah.
So I had good examples before I even went to tertiary. So come the time to go to tertiary, I said, I want to go do what those brothers have been doing, and went in to do what they were doing. And the rest is history.
Accident, Thomas Dide.
Blind. But, you know, I think your ancestors and God say, "Ne, guide so.
Jiga san. Amazing, eh? Because Boys High was a possibility.
You know?
That just never happened.
Yeah.
This accident that happens in your life called drama and acting, you now take it to varsity. Is there encouragement amongst your circle of people, and I mean family, friends, mother, hey, keep going?
Not really.
Yeah?
I was casually, you know, there's the casual jokes are drugs. There's nothing serious happening. But it's a familiarity with the world, you know. And people, you know, the hood is a very interesting place in that, you know, people dismiss that which they don't know with such authority.
Like they sound like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and they ridicule it. But if you had to sit and, you know, and people mask their lack of knowledge with all sorts of
Yeah.
So from, you know, cousins, the odd friend, there was that. I was doing something interesting.
Yeah.
In the eyes of many people. Oh, drama. And I think in the main, my mother also saw it like that because my mother brought me forms, UJ, to study comms and marketing. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do. And she didn't fight me about it. She said, look, at least there's continuity in your conversation. You've been doing this drama thing
High school.
for 4 years of your life in high school, and it seems that furthermore, I got the last scholarship of Goldfield Mines. Goldfield had a bursary program where you came in and you did your 2 monologues and a poem.
Okay.
At the end of my first year in tertiary, they created a runner-up for me. They only awarded one winner.
There was never before or after.
Never before or after. They said we've got to give him something. Surely there's a girl who went to vets who got the full scholarship, but they went to me. We're creating a thing for you because we think you deserve something, and they basically covered half my tuition.
Yes.
For the duration of my schooling.
I realized that we don't encourage this good guys, drama and the arts, unless if my observation is completely wrong and I stand to be corrected. But here's a career that worked out, and yet in the circle of life that you lived in, it was seen as a waste of time. And it always makes me wonder if it's still the same even now, or maybe the narrative has changed slightly.
It's changing.
Yeah.
It's changing slightly.
Yes.
In that, friends have kept a close eye on one's career. People are a lot more open because, media opens you up to such platforms where there's a bit more interrogation into what has brought this person here as opposed to Kimu Tumu TV, but we don't know his background.
Nothing.
You know what I mean?
Over famous.
He's just
almost
famous.
like he was born that way.
Yeah. There was never work to get him to a point where he's doing this so naturally and organically that we think, that's him. As opposed to, no, that's technique actually behind all of this and skill. So that has changed. There's been a few friends who've said, can we do lunch, my brother? I want to bring my daughter. I want to bring my son. So that he's spoken about film, he's spoken about, and I have a realistic talk to say, passion will hold you, but also you've got to know for certain. And I'd ask questions that would reveal a keen interest. Or is this just a nice, cool thing
I see
that you want to do? Or you want
to be famous.
You want to be famous? Just kill somebody, you'll be famous very quickly.
Instantly.
Yeah, it's a Skawaraga thing.
Yeah.
So if you're really going for something else, trust you me, if you're going for the craft and if you're keen on the craft, if you're keen on what it comes with, let me tell you the reality of the joblessness that it could come with, but do have the resilience to know that I might not have a gig now. My talent is not in question. It's just that my services are not required now.
Right now.
We
are not at war. We don't need tunes.
Yeah. It's like a skill.
That's it. Yeah.
People are open. South Africa has come a long way in being exposed and understanding and embracing a lot of things. And my industry in particular has been one of them. There are parents that are encouraging kids. I had
more and more. Do you find there's more and more of that?
More and more. Yeah. My mother, it took a mini tantrum being thrown by me at the age of 26.
Jeez.
And I had been in this thing for how long by then?
Trying out. And you had won an award.
Already by then.
Yes.
Yeah, no, already by then.
Yeah.
I'd won an award, but it wasn't really. I'd been nominated several times. It took a mini tantrum going, it doesn't matter. You guys don't care about what I do. On opening nights of plays, people's parents bring them. I don't want roses, man. Yeah. I don't want chocolate. Backstage there's from your family, there's flowers, there's cards, there's a whole basket of goodies. I don't care about that. I just want you all to show up.
That's it.
The same way people who've been in the same industry with me for 6 years, 5 years odd, have had a consistent parent face. And these are some of these people who I've been consistently with in theatre projects are not even half as good as I am.
Yes, and they get flowers.
But they get the support.
Yes. They get flowers and chocolates.
They get flowers and chocolates, maybe to compensate for their talent, but they've got a consistent family member who's here and supporting what they do. To be out on stage knowing that there's somebody who's out there for me Well, now I don't like it that much because I don't want to be obsessed with the idea of you. Don't tell me you're here.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're here. Rather send me a WhatsApp after the show to say, Mrena, don't rush home. Let's catch a drink after your
Same
theater
thing.
show.
Same thing with radio. I don't want to know people who know me are listening.
Call in to say, hey.
No, call in, Gabon. I don't want to know you're listening. I'd rather you don't.
Because then I'm obsessed
With
about you and
Yeah.
how you perceive this.
Exactly. And I don't want...
Because you know me well.
Nah, I'd rather not. Only my mom, because she's honest. Even wearing shirts, it was all hair. On this thing,
Yes.
I used to do it with, I still do it with.
I saw you wear something
sundowns,
casual. That's why.
yes.
But I saw Mandla wearing a hoodie and a cap. I went, oh, so it's that short.
You know, it is chilled, but my mom would say, hey, why shine wait.
Iphimole.
Iphumule. But hey, man, ungo apare hempe man. Respect your guests.
Oh, bye.
I ironed this last night, my man. So,
For me,
for you.
outie. Thank you.
That's why.
Ne untlhompile
It's not my mom.
o tshwana le nna ke re le ska mpoloka ka bogate.
No.
Fragile mo my bras. Bobo ka mpona apare chino mara ntlhomphile.
Yeah, let's go pull a boga.
Nele mo ne bogate ran. Ngaro dra his divisionons.
After.
No.
Let's talk about the need for the arts as a society. Because you're a player in the space in a big way. And I've had conversations with people here who are saying, well, it's not supported the way it should be for a lot of reasons. That's why you end up with artists that are broke and so forth and so forth. The story's been said 1,000 million times. But the need for arts in a society, and a society like ours, with its dynamics, what do you say to that?
I'm wanting to phrase this
No,
in the most profound way. Arts and culture is the soul of a society because within that we express the deep-seated, it's like the numbers that we were talking about. What happened in Marikana, we know the stats. Yeah. That's what the media is there for.
We know, yeah.
That's what the media is there for. And, that's to give us the facts. Yeah. But the art, whether it be documentary, whether it be music, whether it be a play, a musical like you just saw
with Marikana,
with Marikana is where human truth is expressed, and the narrative of the human condition and how certain events in and around us affect us as human beings. You can only express that through an art form.
Yes.
So as a nation, we need it. It's funny how as a nation, and in particular the black nation, the arts were used to galvanize. I went through your vinyl collection, collection, and I saw Bra Blondie Machenes.
There somewhere.
The Bra Blondie Machenes.
And this is
his political, the protest stuff.
Yeah.
With the colors of the ANC there. The arts, whether it be through music, we miss you, Manelo.
Of course, the message is in there. We know what it means.
We know what it means.
Yeah.
It's just pop. Asina Malia's plays and things that were banned. Sarafina, banned as it was. But all these things that all these offerings that came from the arts fraternity, even though we were isolated from mainstream, which was run by an apartheid government and largely white people. But even amongst them, there were people who were protesting and had a voice. All of that conscientized our country to a point where to a certain point, the inevitable was palpable.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Yes. So post democracy, or the birth of democracy, we've let it fall by the wayside, and I think it was used and seen and revered in its time then as a means to an end. But once we had achieved that end, we discarded it because we lived in the romantic days of a Mandela era, the first term of an Mbeki era, which
Rainbow Nation.
There was the euphoria of Rainbow Nation and economic, an economic trajectory and the prosperity of the country, and we had such high morale, and everybody was so upbeat that all that could have worked was a happy clappy. We are all
I can even sing you a song of that time. South
Africa,
Africa,
we love you.
That was the sound of the
That we had a kumbaya-ness
yeah.
about our arts, and the potency of our art and the history of our art lied in protest against the system. We need it now more than ever. But
Tell me why you say that.
we need it now more than ever because the status quo is such that it needs to be challenged by normal voices. The problem is that your funding for a lot of
It's from the same
black
source.
practitioners in this country comes from the same source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me to go put up a play that truly explains why Batubako, Amanskrala, for the longest of time have struggled Kamezi and even the quality of water in democratic South Africa. That's a reality. I'm not bashing the government of the day. I personally know somebody who's been affected by socio-political or socio-economic political dynamic within that area. Yeah. Why hasn't that been resolved for so many years?
I DJ'd in Hammanskraal a few weeks ago. Yeah, no. It breaks your heart to see how some parts of Hammanskraal, when you pass Temba and go deep into it, you realize that, geez, man, this is like a forgotten land.
And everybody, a councillor, and is quick to move to orchards, but your constituency is there, or whatever nearest suburb, which then resembles, your aspirations and but you're not in your base. You're not serving the base, So I think we need it, and with the social ills, I mean, you look at femicide, you look at kids. There's a story of a kid who came up and whose body, a toddler really, whose body was dismembered. And
interesting, shares a surname with you.
With me.
Yes, I know.
And somebody who I know sent me and said, "Do you know this child?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Possibly related, but I don't know."
Somehow, you know how these
it does. And I said, and sad, horrible. I would have known, but it's not that close to the family. I'll do my homework. So that is to speak to. We as a nation, and as you rightfully said, I don't know if we're rolling then or not. We haven't our moral regeneration. We didn't have a pause, stop, and let's fix people's psyche. It's that thing, a person who's being starved, if you were to give them a lot of food right now, they could eat themselves sick.
That's it.
A person who's been broke, and you say, voila, here's 10 million.
Justice.
Never mind, I've been broke to a point where we take a boroto. It's what that amount of money means to them and the social status they think it buys them at that moment. That freedom came at a time where we didn't know how to handle it.
What we do with it.
So that we can build a kind of society. And all of these things are a sign of what was left unhandled.
Yeah, like, bashapo, balwile, no bashapo. Let's move on.
Why you are? And
then we move on knowing what we're doing.
And you try, then there's all sorts of attempts. And what angers me about the arts is, the ministry that sits in charge of it has never, sure, there are programs here and there, but it's mostly about funding and trying to get, there's the Mzansi Golden Economy, which is a framework that was beautifully built by Paul Mashatile, and it is being used after Paul Mashatile's tenure. Minister Natim Tetwa has adopted it, and there's at least continuity in that regard. But in using the arts to really empower practitioners to truly be a reflective voice of our society, and really use the arts. I can only speak for that because I'm part
you're
of that
in
sector.
There. You see it every day.
To use it properly, sure, there's a play which takes boxes on black and white, it reads well, but some of us are saying we want to be entrepreneurs in this.
Your job shouldn't only end with you on stage.
Cut.
Yeah.
Or curtain down sharp. But how I've been on stage for 20 years, 22 years. With that kind of knowledge, when I go and say, I just want 4 million to employ so many souls, for a protected period of time and to also impart the knowledge I have. Sure, it is my next that will empower me in that I become the next. And maybe we're not having the right conversations. And maybe the art itself teaches you the craft, but doesn't teach you the business.
Money. Yeah.
I then need to go and understand what enterprise development is and that kind of funding structure and blah, blah, blah on my own.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The arts in itself is the heart and soul of a nation. And we've mismanaged that. In part, some people have had success, but in the main,
No.
it is not. And given a country with as colorful a history and as complex issues that we have,
It's complex a present.
Yes. That we have
and
now,
also as colorful a people.
and as diverse,
Yeah.
not only within ourselves as a black cohort, we've got
Cut
Indians,
across.
coloreds, English, Afrikaners, Spanish. You don't have a big Spanish community, but a Portuguese, Italian,
You name
Greek,
it.
you name it,
Now,
Jewish community.
now a Shona community. Now we're dealing with new dynamics that we're dealing with.
And that's a reality. You embrace, you go to the UK and go on West End. You see how narratives there have embraced the fact that we have a Nigerian community here.
That's it.
We have
We don't pretend.
that Habayo, they are just all black.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And here there's all of that. And I think we need to embrace that. I don't know. For me, there needs to be sectoral stimulation way more than there is.
And also cultivate the culture of going to shows and being a part of shows. And I say this because when I went to see you on stage doing Marikana, I was blown away by the crowd. It was a packed house. It was the last night.
Oh,
the
no,
last day.
You saw it good. Yeah, you saw
no,
and
very nice.
but I mean, we've been doing it for 7 years.
No, yes.
On and off, yeah.
Okay, but then that very night, that very Sunday, and I remember calling a friend of mine who works at the State Theatre, and I said, I want to come on a Sunday, but I'm not sure if it's a good day, but it's the best day.
Yeah.
I don't know. People love theatre on a Sunday.
It's a matinee, it's the afternoon thing.
You know what I mean? I didn't know that.
It's a post-lunch.
Yes.
But there's two reasons why people don't come to the theatre. It's changing.
Is it changing for the better?
It's changing for the better.
Yeah.
In that creative heads at institutions are largely black. People will come if you put up things that reflect them.
That's it.
Marikana as a subject matter is close to home. And how we executed it here, we might need to tweak it if we're to take it to West End Broadway to appeal to that audience, but the heart of the story will stay.
That's it.
So people want to see things that reflect them. People want the highest level of entertainment value, and word of mouth goes a long way, but also marketing. I think what we have done in this country is not marketed theatre right and depended on word of mouth. A show is based in Pretoria. Likelihood is the bulk of your audience is from Pretoria.
Exactly.
So how's somebody in Joburg going to hear of the play? You've got to market it. And the apportioning of budgets doesn't look at marketing the same way that Tiger Brands would look at marketing a Mie Viana. Whatever,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bad example maybe. But we need to change how we market. I've worked across the length and breadth of the States doing Dreamgirls, playing a lead, and I saw the extent of marketing.
Yeah.
It's as though a new Toyota has been released.
They go crazy.
They go crazy, they go all out. There's interviews, you are on Good Morning America, you are on every platform. And therefore, then the industry is commercialized because then there's commercial value. Then you don't only rely on government, the private sector starts coming into the fray.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of people that say, I'll invest in this because the numbers look good. I think also what's bad in the arts is that we've always viewed, practitioners in the field have always viewed it as we are the basket case.
You're always
As opposed to saying to develop enterprise and create enough properties that can generate enough revenue for me to never come
to you. Yeah.
And then come back to me and say, we see that you are successful. Who in your books are you building? Is there community theatre group that you've taken from Mamelodi, from Garangwa, Mabopani, let's say Pretoria is your focus.
Growing.
Are you growing talent? Are you growing the groups? Are you growing producers, directors? You know, that's
Stage
the
managers, the whole,
all of that. The whole value chain.
Yeah.
Are you going in that direction?
Yeah.
So I think we hobble on from one production to another, knocking at the NAC. And if this proposal doesn't get approved, you get discouraged.
You don't come back again. Sure. Industrial guides have. I must tell you though, Marikana for me reignited that interest again inside of me.
Yeah.
It was pure coincidence. I just finished producing a show with musicians at the State Theatre. Not the same stage you were using. I was using the big
opera.
one, the opera.
Yes.
So I had to come there on a Sunday to view the set, the stage. And while I was there, let me just go check it out for a minute, you know, because by the way, the stage is exactly identical size-wise. So see how they're using their stage. So I had to go there, check it out while you guys were doing your thing, but I wasn't there to view the show. So I decided, nah, I didn't plan for this. I'll come back next weekend. The following weekend, I went in, now as a guest. I sat in front, and there we were. It's hot. So when you said it is meant to help society know stuff and help to get us understanding the dynamics of our country, Marikana's numbers to all of us, people died and so forth. But that show made me realize the events of the moment. Made me understand them, make me consume them in a way that was easier for an average South African to consume the story and never forget it. Now, when people say Marikan, I don't think I see you guys on stage and the feeling I got, and now I understand it better. I thought you guys did an amazing job. I told you I got teary at the very end. I got so emotional. I was like, man, this what happens now? You know, with the Marikana story for me, you know, now you start asking yourself questions.
It's left hanging, hey?
Yeah.
I think so is any disaster that has adverse political backlash. It's left hanging and it's managed.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to dealing with it. I think, you know, whether it be Germany or whether the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
Germany itself brought Nazis to book on atrocities that were committed in Germany. So a nation stood up against what was committed and said, let us, the voice of the good men, here speak against what went wrong. Because of the political backlash in numbers dwindling on the next election and people by Khata so that Monono can continue. I think I could be wrong.
It's such a sad one for me.
So that's what the purpose of the arts is, but also not only on the bigger political issues, on the minute, on the minor or on the smaller, negligible, soft issues that we face. You know, gender relations are so strained at the moment, but to have shows that truly reflect on that in a palpable way creates that discourse. Whether people walk out of the show
angry or however
but there was something, you know, and the artistic integrity and the integrity of research and looking at life and communicating it in a way that can speak to the heart of the matter fairly and openly is what is required. Those are the kind of narratives. So the industry, I think, is not stimulated enough. There's not even a precinct. There's not enough of a platform where young talent, you know, they select who comes up the reins.
Your career as an actor, you've played on so many shows, and I will not waste anybody's time with that. But is it stage or camera for you?
Stage.
Why is that?
If theatre had constant work and paid me enough, you'd never see me on television.
No way.
You'd never see me on television. The process requires so much of you, requires so much commitment. And I come from that as a background. All acting training in this country and everywhere in the world really is theatre first. And then you get into your technique specializations where they teach you a Meisner technique, the method acting, Stanislavski, all of that. So if theater paid me enough and there was constant work, you'd see me in the odd cameo where you go, wow, who's that guy? But I'd disappear and I'd only be on stage and I'd be happy with that. There are people whose careers are based on Broadway and you don't even know that they exist.
And they live
in American, they're Broadway royalty, they're West End royalty.
And that's the life they lived. Camera is not their thing. They like it when they project and sing and all of that. I must tell you, it was quite a pleasant surprise because I'd never seen you sing, but I've since then found you with Brian Temba in some YouTube video.
Singing for the late Bra Jonas Gwangwa, and I think that's the last performance he saw. That's the last time I saw him. Yeah. He was sitting there and we were honoring him in that segment. So when I turn to the left and bow, I'm actually bowing to him.
Interesting. Because the singer in you is clearly something that you embrace and you enjoy. Is it a conscious thing? Would you want to do something with it, with the singing, beyond just doing it on stage?
Yeah. I got delayed this year with an accident and a few personal things that, transpired. I wanted to celebrate my 21 years in the industry with a 16-piece orchestra behind me and going through music that has impacted my life, but music that I've sung in shows. So just the whole repertoire of my work. There's an interest. I see you've got Brakefas.
I do.
There's an interesting, and you've got a Gregory Porter. I mean, he's,
he almost comes across as a theater singer.
Yeah,
the way
he narrates. He tells a story. I mean, if he talks about "Be Good," is her name.
That's it.
Lou Rawls sings "Send in the Clowns." So in so many ways, I wanted to actually embrace that part of my talents and share it, and I think I'm still to do it. But I've always liked the process of it. I don't think I'll be a recording artist. Who invests in that, because it requires so much. The investment requires so much time for the producers to see the return on it.
Absolutely.
I have to sing in a club. I have to sing in this. I'm not. You know what I mean? If I can open for Gregory Porter in the future, I would gladly.
Yeah.
I'd be good. So,
excuse the pun. Now, the type of roles you've played.
Yes.
You even say, one day you'll make them aware that you're not really an actor. There's a quote in one of your videos where you say, one day they'll realize that I can't do this thing. Why do you say that? Because I know you're joking, but it comes so natural for you when we see you play these roles that you end up being typecast and those type of things as the bad guy. It's always a pleasure to see you play the bad guy, I must admit. But then what happens in terms of the direction that your acting has taken, and you end up in those type of roles that you've ended up in?
In my younger years, I've played good guys. And in between a whole lot of bad guys, I played another good guy in Isbaya.
Okay.
But I think when it comes to your ability, bad guys are more colorful. They're more mercurial in their nature because they just have to adjust themselves for the situation where they find themselves, so that we can keep it moving and still benefit and and manipulate and to. I think I partly take it as a compliment, because to play the bad guy, you require so much color and you require so much technique to pull it off. The good guy just has to be still and be good-natured.
Yes.
And that's still very hard.
No, of course.
Play that stillness and take the blows. Because some actors vicariously have their egos live through their characters. And you're like, I don't think that's how it was written, but okay, we'll go with what the version of you that you are sharing with us.
Yeah.
So, I take it as a compliment. But I've had the pleasure of playing some of the most memorable characters. In part, I'll say, in this country, casting, and it's getting interesting now. You've got a lot of people who are you've got a lot of casting directors who are becoming more creative in who they cast and the kind of talent that they bring onto projects, and they're independent of the production itself. So it's a service where we've written, me and David have written this amazing thing.
We're looking for people.
And we're looking for people, and they go, your leads, top 10, this is who you can play with, and you see people in that way. But in the main, a lot of people go for names, and what they do, they go for what they've seen you play
before,
and they go, you can play this, as opposed to saying, we need a good actor. Does he have the range that this character requires? And then off the base of that, then go look for the actor who's got the depth and the technique. So, I've been put in both situations, and at times I've actually taken the liberty to say, I see what you're doing. You're picking me because you've seen me play this kind of character. But I'm going to take it to a level where I expose you to
something
technique and depth of just my depth as an actor that I'm elevating, because I believe every performance is your audition for the next.
That's it.
Every interview you do, every time you on the radio, it's the next producer. It has to be better, so that if you want to jump ship, there's somebody waiting to so come here. We like what you do. So I've taken it as a compliment to be, but South Africa also writes stories, and they don't really invest in characters that much or the depth. So they leave it up to you, and at times with the sausage factory nature of how we shoot things, actors end up falling into habits, performer habits.
Okay. What, for example?
Performance habits, what you've picked up. If most of your characters are boisterous and they're loud,
so then
you're loud in everything you play.
Because there's no time, really.
There's no time to go, let's have a conversation. You've played that there, you've played that there. How about we go for something different? And you also explore that. You come in as, we've been looking forward to work with you based on the work I've done previously. Therefore,
you're looking for that guy.
You're looking for that guy. And you without it being said, you know what the brief is. So sometimes when you look at the writing, you go, they're looking for that guy. It's upon you to have the artistic integrity to say, they came up short in knowing what they should be looking for.
I'll give them
I'll give them this, but I need to take it to another level. So that people who watch me, because you don't have the time, and I always say this to writers, I say, the audience and our viewers don't have the luxury of discourse with us.
No. They
don't care about that. I've paid to come watch a play. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to go, let me go to the script. Even the story, when you watch it, we don't have the time to say, no, what we meant to do and what
was this.
This is symbolic of is this. No. So it's me
that has
and the viewer.
Yeah.
And then I have to work it and bring it to a level.
Do you know, your role, Lea Castro, has been so celebrated, so much, even an award came out of it.
Yes.
And I like when you say it's based on politicians that we know, that we're familiar with. Did you enjoy playing that role?
I still am.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in our second season now. I still am. And obviously there's been a change in the deck, with writers, and obviously following up on the success of the first season is always, of anything.
It's always tricky.
The genesis, given the follow-up, is always tricky. But I really have. I think it found me at the right time in my life as a career, as a performer, but also found me at the right time in my career, in that there was a lot more focus, there was a lot more clarity, and I'm working on legacy projects. I'm working to build characters that, and a body of work that my daughter can look at and say,
that's
my father.
Yeah, that's my
and be proud. So I think I was at the right time in my life and my career and because we've had the kind of political Olympics
that we've been having.
Things haven't been dull, and characters that are around us, and that we've been to a braai, a dinner, a soiree around, and we've observed these characters on TV. I mean, to create a fruit salad of a character who's a politician was so easy to do.
Yeah, there's enough material.
I've shared a whiskey, I've shared a cigar, I've been at a braai, I've been exposed to these people. So, it was a gift that kept on, they were a gift that kept on giving as far as my frame of reference was concerned.
It's true. Is it true that you're basing it on a bit of Julius, a bit of Figile? And who else is in there? Is it true that you're basing it on these guys when they're big?
When they're doing the showmanship.
Yeah, they.
I partly I did. I went for the obvious. I think when they said a politician, because a politician needs an audience to truly bring out his thing. It's like a preacher.
Without an audience.
In his private space, put him on the pulpit. Damn, he's dynamic. And damn, are they dynamic when you put them in front of us. Yeah. And having observed them and having taken from the humor that comes out of a Julius's mouth, out of a Fix's mouth, the articulacy that comes out of a Budimanamela's mouth, and so on it goes. Fortunately, they had, as politicians, they had lived in their youth in and among us as people that have traversed this metropolis that is Joburg, in searching for a deal, in searching for this.
Yes.
Being a friend of you've come across fellas, and you go, oh, you're quite different than you are when you're when you are there on the platform. So I borrowed. And the story took the shape it took. There were private moments where I had to dig in as an actor because there's no showmanship.
No.
But whenever, and we've had a lot of moments when there's showmanship in the show with this character, it was easy to pull from politicians, and in particular,
but I'm Julius now.
Yeah.
Let me do a Julius.
There was a Barrette moment which we introduced, and I said, no, let's give him Barrette.
Okay.
And I went, let's give him Barrette to just identify him. And people run for archetypes and people they can identify, and they go, let's see, would he play true
to this,
to what we get from Julius?
Because there's a caricature that you're trying to portray with a beret.
Yeah, with a beret.
The beret surely, does it bring out a character? Does costume bring out a character?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm called behind my back by people who work in different departments in a production.
Yes.
But I'm the kind of actor, and I think I'm at that point in my career where there's a bit more consultation. So once I'm stepping into a role, already with the producer, I say, let's have a coffee. Who's on art? Who's on? Okay, put me in touch with them so that I can say, wardrobe-wise, you've got the autonomy. But there are certain things that will help bring him to life. And those discussions sometimes with some people, they've never had that, so they think, oh, is my territory being trampled upon?
Yes, hey.
And it's when those things come to life and it brings a character to life that wardrobe department goes, we see.
Yes.
We get it. So next time they run. Our department, I need this.
Wow.
So it all of these things, props. I'm forever fighting with the art department. I say, have a little box that has everything of mine so that you don't go on. But in the script, they didn't say they need a pen.
But you will.
I might feel that in this scene, it works better if I'm distracted by my writing when David walks in.
So you are.
So that I've got
you're able
business.
to bring it to life.
I bring this, I incorporate this in my conversation. Because in the middle of that conversation, he says, and then, oh, sorry. Yes, you're saying. Then I put down the pen.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things where you start realizing that in the entire value chain, you need everybody.
Jeez. Do you find yourself acting well one? I say this because I do links. I still do.
Yes.
Which is radio links. I still do. And when I'm driving alone in the car, I would say, this is how I would back announce the song. This is how I would introduce that. And I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Do you find yourself doing a bit of that once in a while? Or is it so much in your system that you don't even need to?
Well, it depends. When
rehearsing a character?
Oh, no. I'm a strong believer
alone?
Because I don't rehearse a character alone. I go into the Bible and I have discussions with the people who created the character as to what's the vision. And then often when we find a synergy in our conversations, we start then a visual reference of who he is comes to mind. So sometimes I'll even create a collage and say, so let's go back to Istingo. I went...
Whose character were you playing?
I was playing Pastor Gabriel.
Oh, Pastor Gabriel, yes.
And I remember saying to the writer, the head
Gabriel
writer...
was a young pastor.
Yes.
Pastor learning to be a pastor, am I correct?
No. He was that was Lefa on Scandal.
Scandal, yes.
But Pastor Gabriel was a very colorful character who, he was a pastor, believed in the word or not. He was man of God who then just had a thing for money and a thing for women. And his fall from grace landed him in jail for 6 months. And I came back and he started taking a chance in this scheme and that scheme and bought a fancy car and, just got immersed in the world as colorful and as troubled as it is. But he was no longer a pastor. But, we had to find... And I remember saying to the head writer that I'm seeing a bit of Musa Sono, Pastor Musa Bishop Musa Sono. I'm seeing a bit of Creflo Dollar. I'm seeing a bit of Farrakhan. Because you need a firebrand. You need somebody who's articulate in that, but is also a bit funny.
Yeah.
And you need somebody who's articulate and manages to simplify the word. And at that point, the story is being developed. So the character Bible gives you this, but then it morphs into... The writing room takes different directions given what you make of the character, how it's received out there, and, what you do with it as an actor. So that morphed as time went. But I remember saying the visual reference is X. So you end up having these consultative conversations to say, I see him, I see this is what it is. I believe in rehearsing before a scene so that we're not dealing with the mechanics of it, but we are then playing when the cameras are rolling and finding
a flow.
And find the flow before the cameras even roll.
Yeah.
But by the time it's the Sundowns practice.
It's not done on the field.
But come time for the field, all of that practice and how you found your game plan, then you see the results of it when the cameras are rolling.
It's such a pleasure to interview someone who's a Sundowns fan. Just for the record.
No. I need to correct this because my family. I'm floor crossing happily.
I'm aware.
Because you've heard. I'm floor crossing happily
from Naturena.
Yeah, from Naturena and
I'm sorry.
I'm floor crossing.
You're not alone, eh? You're talking about Tsepo Zwaxti.
Yeah.
He's also a serious floor crosser.
Oh, but he did it years back.
Yeah, no, not that long.
Oh.
2019, just now. 29 is very recent. Because we all remember, suddenly he comes to our hangout, he's wearing Sundowns, like,
where's a knee?
And I don't know, dude, I spent like 20,000 rands. I bought for the whole family. So I'm converting.
Oh, you see, now I've got an entire family that is Naturena. But I've got my dad / stepdad, who's from Mamelodi 16 actually to be exact.
So he's a
Sandawana, all through and through. So it wouldn't be too far off.
Yes,
there's familiarity.
Absolutely. Your body of work, when I was partnering, I'm looking at it now. We have, geez, man, it's so long. After 9, all you need is love.
Yeah.
Geez, you did that presenting that show. Gazlam.
Yeah.
Bone of My Bones.
Yes.
Your story just goes on. Isbaya.
Yeah.
Jacob's Cross. Yeah. Mofirifiri. Movango. Yes, you played Pilo Movango.
Yes.
Your body of work, Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
On the couch.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You're having realizations. I was like, I did that too.
Yeah.
Let me see, what else is there? Scandal, of course. Esokulu and Partners.
I was never in that.
Really?
I was never in that. Or perhaps I had a cameo in that. Yeah. Some of these things, yes, actually I had a cameo.
Yeah, tiny little, no feet. Yes. Streets of Mangau.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting character as well.
Yeah.
Because you also play the cop on Marikana.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. There's that character coming back again. Geez, the estate, of course. That's the big one. That's the one that currently works. Have you done multiple productions at the same time?
Yes.
Looking at the body of work that the Wild is in there as well.
Yes. So the mainstay of a lot of actors is soapy work or telenovela work.
Yeah.
Because that's a monthly salary, that's, that's financial stability in your life. But how I started in this industry was juggling. You're a freelancer, you're a young player who would do this, but go on and do this other project, and then you're forever on the chase to
for
try
the
and
next
have a
job.
formidable pie, at least.
Yeah.
This one will pay the rent, this one will pay the card, this will buy my food, 800 take.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And I fell in love with the nature of the chase like that. That even when I'm in a production, I itch to do something else. The older you grow, the better you're paid, hopefully. And it's been unfortunate for some of my industry colleagues to not have that be the reality. But, you don't have to run around as much because this which you're getting from one project, which is your main focus, is quite stable enough. But to always augment doesn't hurt from a financial perspective. But to always diversify helps you, and with theater. So my main thing has been I've got to do one theater production a year. And I've been blessed to work with the kind of producers that agree and love the principle. And we try and find the best way to make it work.
Basically, so it doesn't interrupt schedule.
So it doesn't interrupt schedule.
Yeah.
Where, on the estate, when we came back for this season, the executive producers agreed, but the production office wasn't aware of the agreement that was made. You can do Marikana.
Yes.
And when I threw the schedule in front of them, they're like, whoa. So I found myself having to really juggle.
Sure.
Now, the last time I did this production, I was 5 years ago. I'm 5 years older. The fatigue even got the better part of my health, actually, in this process.
Doing both Marikana.
Doing both Marikana. And so I love the juggle. Obviously, the older you get, you have to forgo one. It's nice to have two checks coming in at the same time. But if they can pay you what these guys are paying you for the month
You'd
of
rather
rehearsal,
stay there.
let me just focus on this. Write me out for a month, or I can come in on the odd day to just shoot 2-3 scenes in a way that it doesn't interrupt here. I've got that as a priority, but they're giving us time.
Because plays require a lot of time.
Yeah.
Rehearsal is quite extensive and continuous. It's every night there's a show.
Once you get into show mode, it's easier. Because then I can say to the production, I need to be out of here no later than 5:30 every day of the week, so I can be at the State Theatre at 6:30.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
To calm down.
And when you get there, it's you're
calm down. I get into what I do every night.
And the brain switches.
Muscle memory, yeah. The brain switches.
Yeah.
That character doesn't speak Sesotho. This one speaks Sesotho.
Yeah, it completely switch, eh?
So that drive time between Joburg and Pretoria, I walk away from that.
From that Joburg character.
Then I get into Marikana. So for me, the juggle is a pleasure, but it has to be the right projects. To do one TV, I can't do one telenovela. The amount of time this requires from me. But I can do another drama series. And if the character was juicy enough and that. But there's also the politics of branding and.
Oh, yes.
I'm on an SABC production. I'm a principal. I'm a lead. They run a lot of PR.
Around you.
Around me.
Yeah.
For me to agree to shoot something for their competitor and be as prominent there.
Those become serious challenges.
Yeah. To a point where you could actually get fired because it was your loyalty. It's like you work for Coca-Cola and now...
Robono no papes.
Bro, yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Again.
Yes.
So there's that. But one is in a good space. And I've been fortunate to work with producers that give space for me to explore my number one passion, which is theatre.
Yeah. I like that your number one passion is theatre. A lot of people who come here, that's the story they tell. It's always so amazing for me.
But Owen Sajake was here.
Yeah, he said, no. Like, dude, you walk away thinking, I should see more theatre.
No.
People like that, No.
And actors who are from theatre have a love for each other when they're in front of the camera because the intensity and the truth of performance comes out.
Wow.
There are people who've never... and our country is very... There are people on our televisions who've never had a single day of training.
Of course.
And there's a lot more of them than people who...
Does it reflect when you're working with them?
Yeah. it reflects. But there are some, and look, there are people who've come onto the job and learned on the job, and you embrace the keenness to learn and how they bring themselves to the table, and therefore you guide where you can. I wouldn't say I'm the best in what I do, but the years of experience have something to, speaks for itself. So when there's that, you become a fellow mechanic with the other person and you say, stand still a bit more. You're swaying too much. Rooted this. You give what you were given as a young light.
Yes. And they're getting it for free.
They're getting it for free and they're still getting paid to do what you do. So there are people, it comes up, but there's something in training which teaches you etiquette. The generosity and how you don't try and impose your interpretation of what that actor should be doing. You read it, you interpret it that way. But don't lock it because you don't know how he's interpreting it. You don't know where he's pitching it. And the musicality of dialogue is born of us finding it and saying, say it. Oh, is that where you're going? Okay, then I have to give you that. Or is that where you're not going? I think we need to pace it up because of that. And it's those discussions. So now if I find that people who come from theater generally have learned to have that etiquette with each other.
So there's an easier rapport when it's interesting, eh? You're the second person to speak about, Mandla also spoke about the musicality of performance. There's a tempo. There's a metronome. It's not just a it's amazing.
A lot of guys from Pretoria would make amazing actors, and I'll tell you why. In our storytelling, there's musicality. A Pitori guy can call another Pitori guy for the first minute and a half of their call. There's so much rubbish being said. May blah. Man, hore me just ko scarsi jo. Ora be ngore scarsi. In the tonality of all of that is music, and it's interesting to listen to because just there's and that's the art of storytelling. So when you lock yourself without listening when the other person is pitching this, you don't write the musicality.
You don't sing together.
Yes, you don't sing together.
It doesn't become a duet.
Whereas our dialect has that.
That it is. Yes.
Naturally. And Sizulu Lesona has that. When you get it in its purest form.
When two Zulu speaking people speak it properly.
And there's dialects within the Zulu language.
Of course.
What's been a pity is that there hasn't been proper representation on television of Sipitori in itself.
I must admit though, what's that show? Yabo Kobrizi.
But then you find an attempt. There's one or two characters.
Yes. True. The rest are half.
You'll find the one, you'll find the one girl speaking pure Spedi and the Anelaiti, but then you find Mamang as a Zama and it loses. Whereas if you are to cast, full, and the writer, not we write in English, we translate into Spitori. No.
We write in
Spitori. If we had to create something like that, and I suppose maybe that's my challenge.
That's your job.
That's my job.
We're waiting for you
to create a piece where I go,
yeah.
So he audition and I get a set
No.
May blood diamond no sekacheno.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's for me it's people who come from a theater background have that, and people who are trained generally have a joy and an excitement and a commitment, and you don't come to the party half baked because the fellow actor is gonna see it. So babang hebatla akekeleza are but you're not prepared, and that's an insult to me and yourself anyway. So why would you want to do that?
I want to say quickly before I let you go, and thanks for your time. How has relationships been for you? Love and life. And I ask this because it's a common question here. We learn from these conversations a lot more, I realize. When Majidare, I've learned this, I did that, there were mistakes, but I've learned from them. What's your overall general experience with love as a concept?
In the main, it has been good to me.
Have you been good to it?
I've messed up in a dramatic way in one instance, and I own up to it. I'm the first to say, oh no, I effed that up royally. And you know, succinctly because of ABC, but I can't discuss more than that because
No,
I
of
don't know
course.
if the other person
No, of
would
course.
be. No, I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying every time I speak
Oh,
about
yeah.
it, I'd say, oh no, for my part in it, I messed it up ABC, but I wouldn't want to discuss it because I don't know if the other person would be comfortable with their personal life being discussed that way.
Yeah.
On a platform or even in this bright place conversation.
Yes.
Again. So it has been good to me. I've had people that have been good and loyal to me, and I've spotted people who I realize that you're here for other reasons, and and often people who walk into my life with the aim to gain something because of their perceived value of what they'd get.
Yeah.
They get
Because
quite they get quite disappointed.
Yes.
Kapile hore, nigga, nah, no, you know, I've had people befriend me, think, hey, bona, I'm gonna get VIP
Jeez.
invitations to parties. I'm gonna
all of
meet
that.
girls, and I'm like, nah, I'm not that kind of person. But well, you know, even friends, some people say, hey man, connect me with Dykent in the industry. I'm so respected in my industry. For me to try and call girls to come and be hit on by you, it has never been my game.
So that happens, eh?
That ever so often. So you know, but it has been good to me, love, in the main. I'm still a firm believer in it. I'm still a firm believer in family, but I think because years have gone, you know, in I think a bulk of your 30s, if you mess something good up, you must adjust to a new possible reality.
Yeah.
of just companionship, maybe without the construct of marriage.
Yes.
Or the possibility that the partner that you meet would be at an age where she goes, but at my age, kids, chief.
Yeah.
I've got my 1 or 2, if that's the case.
Grand.
You know, we are doing this thing. Come lower how I'll come lower or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm open to that as a construct and as a modern family.
Because you spoke very at the beginning of our chat about this dream of a family setup. It's something that you had when you were even a little boy, and that's probably why your answer is so interesting when you say surely you didn't achieve that in the way you designed it in your head. And did you have opportunities that could have and didn't to create that?
Yes. For my part in it.
Yeah.
Not wanting to discuss
of course.
other people's part in it. I think when I was conscious of wanting to start, you know, I had an attempt at marriage.
Jeez.
You know, and that disintegrated for its own reasons. And that's the part where I say, oh no, I effed that up royally.
Okay.
For my part in it.
Yes.
But then you were at a point in your life where you realize that, man, this life thing is, you know, I have a philosophy that says the older you get, the simpler your life should become.
That's it.
Get the house and live at that house most of the time.
Yes. Be there.
Be there at Daiposi. You're paying so much for the bond, so much for rates and taxes.
Yes.
And to improve it, and you're buying things, and it's a home. Be there. Chaisa utle high.
Chaisa utle high. Would marriage still happen in your life?
Yeah. I think I'm keen on it as a construct.
Yeah.
But true companionship. You know, I've a lot of friends who place a lot of value in, you know, because I've got so many kids, therefore, and I've got the wife, therefore, and I've got the business. I say, no, the design of your life sounds good for you. It works for you. You know what I mean? A litany of kids is not value for me. This one is fine. If I was to have another one, I'd welcome it. Because my child didn't spend a lot of time with me in my life. Living with me. Now that she is, you know, I'm also starting to change as a person. And it hasn't been long. We're under 2 months, really.
Really?
Yeah.
This is new.
No, new with a teenager in the heart of my house, grade 8 and grade 9.
Yeah.
We're starting to make subject choices. And I'm having to have conversations like, you need to prepare for options that you would have later in life. I see you say you don't like accounting, but you're good at it. So what's your thing? Is it the hard work that comes with it?
Yeah.
Then that's what life is.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I'm open to that. I still believe that. I still believe in love. I still believe in that person that takes your breath away and the passion. And if that's not there,
quite short.
I short that, because if that's not there, and marry and choose what you like, you know, if 4 women were to walk into a party and you go, wow, and then the next party, similar spec, but also in conversation, if you were to go, wow, here, and 4 more girls go past and you go, and the next one came and you went, wow, and there were similarities, you should know these are fundaments aesthetically that would sustain my interest, but also in the spirit and the intellect of a person, and the outlook on life. This is what would keep my interest. So those kind of things, I'm. But the older you are, the quicker you are to go buzz out. Again,
jeez. So maybe we should be singing Pinal Nyalo soon.
Yes.
Because a good question always we learn a lot from some of the mistakes you've made. Which one are you willing to talk about in general terms?
The general guy stuff. I think the general guy stuff, and also let me say this for a guy in my industry who's had,
a level of fame,
and a certain level of perceived success that you would land as the it, which then means the options are aplenty.
Of course.
And the options are aplenty, even despite disclosure that you have a partner, and not that you are scheming, you just go, hey, there's this reality. It's somebody who's actually seen the partner in question, and they're willing to go along with it, or even chance to say, I'm better than that partner, you should be here.
I'll topple that government.
Yeah, I'll topple this government. The coup d'etat straight.
Yeah.
So
it depends on how you encourage it. Ultimately, you're the guy that controls where this goes.
So, and I often say, don't take responsibility for your hand in it. Whether you have theories or bro.
Yeah, no that.
The human state of yourself in the decisions you made meant that you are cognizant
of what
you're doing. If there was an external force unbeknownst to you, sharp, but when only thing, you were drunk in parts, you were sober in parts. So it's in a nutshell, it would be that the silly guy stuff exacerbated with my hand in it by the fact that you've got access and just junk, and you are going to explore this.
Aubrey Poo.
Die.
Yeah.
And you've seen it in its color where somebody at first ignores you deliberately because they don't want to play. I'm paying attention to the TV guy in the room.
Yeah.
But then before the end of the night, liquid courage has gotten everybody in conversation.
Yes.
So, it's that. It's the normal silly guy stuff that we all need to pay attention to as Majita, because the damage it causes
is
more so when you've got somebody devoted to you and devoted to the union. Sometimes you would die denk. Denk fela ka sister.
Yeah,
if you're willing to forgo it, if it's neither here nor there, me out tipela bopelo bao, hey da sister ra ka baga, what else ba? If you are there about it, chap. Mara, if you are not, because also it does damage, how this disintegrates damages you the same way in which it damages the other person. You won't come out of it unscathed because no Javala.
The Javala dinalo mabadi.
Yeah.
Just as much as mabadi
abakosi.
Yes.
So Jehan Sir Grace. So sometimes you need to consider it. But these things, it's only when you're older.
Yeah. In hindsight.
And you say, na kifitile me bras.
Get
sharp. And
Maruna Lobano, ran like I.
And ran like a but I just have more Savamusad Mudimomo.
Bro, we can go on forever. Calabatiak.
It's been.
I've looked forward to it. I love your work.
Thank you, sir.
I want South Africa to watch this and celebrate it, celebrate you, because I think where you're going is very far. You'll continue to give us good work. I'm sure of that. I love your characters. I love your. Sometimes you come across. I was trying to act your character yesterday with the boys here, office. I know I get it wrong. I get it wrong. What is this? This is a T-shirt. Nah, I'm like, it can't be a T-shirt. Wearing a T-shirt here? What's wrong with you?
You come close.
There's a
but you know,
there's a thing about
there's a bigger than
there's a
life.
Absolutely. There's a and I like that about what you do. And it comes so natural. That's why people that's how you really are.
The mistake that's made often, people say, hey, you are direct, hey, you are so dramatic. Hey, man, I mean, that's just the jab.
Yes.
And I go, no. When I'm acting, it's a very scary scenario. You wouldn't, when the cameras roll and you were to actually watch me live in a scene, transition from being myself
to being this guy,
being the character, you'd be scared of how do I transform like that.
Wow.
But because I've come from theater and I've made bold choices with the characters I've played, I'm not scared of being animated.
Yes.
Then as a result, and exclamate in a way that the general might be a bit shy and to do that. So Muriski.
No, very well.
Very well.
Yeah.
Muriski and I are friends because Muriski should be an actor.
Yeah.
You know, he's so dramatic and funny and has got punchlines for days. And I'm not scared to go there as well, I suppose, as a person. And I've learned that from friends. I'm animated, but when I act, it's totally a different
story. The line that I just did, as useless as it is, give me you in character doing what was Antwana or son, you can't be coming here dressed like that.
May light. Or very D T-shirt. And on your malinna. Ne byanong ga khona ha le dining nga o patela ek fragile moy ke a dikapa nna o ska tla iso ene wa nya go tsama le nna wa pere bjana a so believe tsa mo change dining ke tla o emela ka mokoleng o etse ka pile ne o itshase perfume somara.
There's a Pretoria guy right there. That was such a Pretoria guy. It's like I know those guys. I know many of them. Thank you very much.
King David Studio Podcast.